Hello FCS 301, you're ready for day 4 of the zipper pouch sew along. Today we are going to sew the corners and flip the bag or zipper pouch right side out and then finish the opening and the lining piece. According to the directions, we are going to look at these squares on the corners, and we're going to create a flat bottom. And the way that we do that is we're going to open this like a bag of chips. So the corner of the square is where I'm going to take my thumb and my forefinger and I'm going to pinch on both sides. And when I pinch, I'm going to make sure that those open seams match. And as I pull that open, I'm then creating this flat seam now where I can lay my seam allowances and pin. The main thing that you want to make sure that you do is that your seams match, and then you can decide if you want to sew with the seams open or closed. But whatever you do, if you do not do it with the seams open, I recommend that you push one seam to the right and then one seam to the left. And then you're simply going to pin it in place and sew along this edge using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So I'll finish my pinning and then I am going to sew. Okay. So I have my fabric underneath my presser foot. I have this edge of the corner aligned with my 5/8 inch seam allowance. I have my stitch length set at 2.5, and when I sew I am going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Don't forget to back stitch at the end. I now have my sewn seam. I'm going to cut the excess so that my corners will lay nice and flat. And I'm going to repeat this process on all 3 corners. Make sure you do not cut your seam that you just sewed. Okay, so now that I have all of my corners sewn, I'm going to finish trimming them. And in the next video segment, I'm going to show you how to turn your bag and sew the lining piece shut. All right, now that we have sewn all 4 corners and trimmed the excess fabric without trimming our seam, it would be this would be a good time to go around to all of your seams and check to make sure that you don't have any loose threads or threads that need to be trimmed away. If you do, you want to do that before we turn the bag and close the lining seam. Okay, well, looks pretty good. All right, just like we did with the trick or treat bag, we are now going to turn our bag right side out through the opening in the lining piece. If you haven't done so already, what you will want to do is go ahead and open up your zipper all the way. It should be open up halfway, and now you're going to open it up all the way if you can. It's kind of tricky. And we're just going to turn our bag right side out, gently through that opening in the lining. And before we close the opening, go ahead and push out the corners so that they're nice and crisp, and check to make sure that you don't have any holes, especially in this outer fabric that's going to get the most wear and tear. Check both corners. And then you want to look at where you sewed on the zipper, making sure that there are no gaps between the zipper and the fabric. If you see none, then you are ready to press your zipper pouch and close the opening. Here is the opening in the lining, and if you take your fingers, or your forefinger and your thumb, and pinch where the sewn seam is at on both sides and kind of pull, you'll notice that the raw edges turn into the bag. And if you take your iron and press along this edge, you're going to get a nice, crisp, clean edge that then you can sew shut. I'm going to leave it up to you guys if you want to sew this with a machine or with an invisible hand stitch. Either way, once you have sewn this closure shut, you are done with your bag. I am going to go to the iron right now, give this a really nice press, and in the next segment, I will show you how to close this opening with a machine stitch. Alright, I have pressed the seam, and it's nice and crisp. In fact, you can hardly tell that it's even an open, but those raw edges are now tucked inside, never to be seen again. And with my machine set on a 2.5 stitch length, I am going to sew as close as I possibly can to this folded edge. So what you want to make sure to do is make sure that your needle is going to be going in just on the inside edge of this folded edge. Remember to back stitch at the beginning and at the end, but don't do too many back stitches, otherwise you'll be able to see it too much. And don't forget to back stitch. A couple stitches back stitching is all it takes. I'm getting as close to that folded edge as possible without going off of the folded edge. You may want to use pins to mark where you need to start and begin. And as you get to the end, back stitch a couple stitches. Gonna cut these loose ends. Don't want to leave those behind. All right. I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see how close I am to the edge. And now I am ready to tuck this into the zipper pouch. And my zipper pouch is ready for whatever accessories I would like to put in this bag. Congratulations, you are done with your zipper bag.